Hey, what's up everyone? Linda Kee coming at you from the unceded territory of the Blackfoot Confederacy and Métis Region 3, where I feel blessed to call home, otherwise known as Mohkinstsis. Today's episode, we have the lovely Sean Dennie, artist, photographer, community builder, asking me, the host, about why I created this podcast.
Lately I've been trying to find my way to a place where life is more than empty space. Wondering where I belong, just don't fit in, 'cause I choose not to play along, no. Life is on for me.
Hello and welcome everyone to Being Under the Influence. My name is Linda Kee, and this is a prologue introducing some of the concepts of why I created this podcast. And first and foremost, I'd like to say that it's about bringing people together. It's about belonging to each other. I feel like in this landscape, social landscape lately, there's kind of this contrast between the idea that we're all learning and being open-minded to some of the barriers that some communities face and how we're going to be allies. And then the opposite side is there's more separation because, well, if you're this way, if you belong to this community, then you should be living your life this way. And I feel like there's a lot more separation in terms of how we label ourselves and each other. And this project is about exploring how cultural influences, ceremony, traditions that come from different parts of the world can facilitate conversations on how these influences have brought us together, can continue bringing us together, and creating a dialogue and listening to each other's voices and exploring how we could move together as one, really. As cheesy as it may sound, it's like really we're all one. We all come from the same energy, and we are, it's all my relations, the air, the nature, animals, plants, and how can we come together? Questions with Sean Dennie. Okay.
What's your project about?
My project is about how we can come together through sharing our traditions and other people's traditions, and how we as North Americans participate in certain things like hip-hop culture, in like yoga and wellness, in the art like tattooing, or martial arts, or things that we practice, and how we can come together and share ideas instead of being so separated, and this is what I do and you can't be a part of it. I feel like that's what's happening a lot, is you can't be a part of it. I find that strange. There have been recent circumstances, like dealing with racism and dealing with people are being oppressed. And I feel like society, we're having conversations like we're doing better, but I feel like sometimes we're not doing better, that there's more division. And even though I think what I'm also seeing is people who feel like now that there's space, there seems to be space, or there's an allowance to share your voice, that it's not coming from an place of understanding. It's coming from the same place of being trying to lord power over each other. And I think I'm trying to explore how we can be together in a circle instead of a hierarchy. I think there's a judgment on, oh, you don't know that, well, maybe we can't be friends anymore. Like canceling, that's what it is. People are canceling each other. I don't even like to say that because it sounds so, it's like on vogue to say the word cancel. So, my project is about what's another alternative to canceling each other out if you feel like there's a disconnection. How do we work through that? It looks like being in conversation. It looks like being vulnerable to say, I don't know. Maybe there's things I don't know. Um, I want to be open to listening and being uncomfortable, because it's about accountability too. I like to come from a place of, okay, let me hear you out and try and understand from your perspective, and then we can move on past it, not, I mean, through it. I think it's possible if each individual is willing to go through the journey of questioning ourselves. I think too, sometimes, like, there's so many different elements. Like, an example is a privilege, right? Like, I know I have certain privileges, and maybe I have a hard time accepting that. Maybe I feel bad about it, but how can I get over the guilt so I could connect with you? Um, I'm not saying it's perfect. I mean, that's why it can be very complex, but I think it also can be. I don't know what the end is, but I know that these are steps, right? The first step is, okay, Sean and I got into a fight. We disagree on something. Can I choose? Do I cut you out, or can I inquire? Like, what's going on with you? Like, maybe I can understand. And it doesn't mean that whatever you might have done is okay. It's just more of an understanding, so we can continue. So we don't need to cancel each other out. We all exist in this world already. We're already here, right? So how can we continue sharing space? This is a total sidebar. I'm a Theater of the Oppressed theater, like forum theater facilitator, and the theory, which is based on the practice, is based on Augusta Boal's his how he devised this style of theater to create more to explore power imbalance. Is the theory of theater, the philosophy, sorry, of Theater of the Oppressed is like how a cell works, a living cell. It has a membrane, it has a nucleus, it has all these parts inside the cell. It has cilia and all that stuff that helps to protect the life and health of that cell. And so if we compare a cell to our community, but what we do is, oh, okay, well, you're different than me. Or you have, you're just different than me. So let's take you out and put you somewhere else. And then what happens in that cell, if you start to remove parts of that cell, how is that cell operating when it's missing those pieces? And the theory is that that cell is not going to be healthy. So I truly believe that. When I practice that, I'm not just a facilitator, I'd like to practice that in my life. So instead of removing who we think doesn't belong in our cell, in our society, in our community, and isolating and segregating, how can we unite and work together? I think the power of empathy allows us to bring our own walls down. I'm definitely very guilty of, like, protecting myself from things, you know. I'm trying to practice more vulnerability, uh, because I'll speak for myself. I notice that if I'm not practicing empathy, I get emotionally distressed, and then I put power on that other thing happening to that will dictate my energy, my mood. And really, whatever that person is going through isn't really about me. So I think empathy is powerful because it works in both directions. Like, I can listen and I can try and understand you and try and support you through this because I'm not, my ego isn't all like, well, what about me? What are you doing for me? And I think another thing about empathy is we really all have the same desires to feel, um, just to feel okay in our own skin, existing, really. Like, we want to feel safe, and we want to feel like we have freedom to be. So, so even if someone might seem like, oh, I can't have empathy for you, I don't know what it's like to be you. It's like, I do, because we're really the same. We just might look different. We might speak differently. We might have different preferences or lifestyles. But at the core of it, and it's hard to find that word because we all define things differently, but are we feeling content? And like, do we have full relationships like while we're on this earth? Can we go day by day finding some peace and joy and exchanges, right? Like, why are we here? I don't know. I'm guessing that it's about what are we experiencing. And sometimes it's hard for people. Some days are hard. They're like, this is a hard day. I'm having a hard day. I feel like a lot of times if something's bugging me, it's because I think there's something wrong. But I feel that, I'm here. I lead a pretty privileged life. Are there barriers? Absolutely. But we're focusing on those barriers. I think focusing on feeling like, okay, I feel pretty good in this, focusing on that is just going to help me move forward through the barriers. Yeah, I would say generally, yeah, I feel like a very blessed person, for sure. First answer is, people are so generous, like yourself, showing up here, and it's what's I'm here as a host to have guests, but really, I don't think of it as a podcast about me. I think of it as a podcast about how do we work together. So what I'm really learning is through all this collaboration and people like yourselves jumping in, and there have been so many iterations of this podcast since the first episode. It's because of people like you and other colleagues and friends who contribute their energy. And so what I'm learning is practicing receiving that and saying, cool, like, I had this seed and I'm going to put it there. I'm going to put it in the ground, and everyone comes in and like waters the seed, puts some sunlight on it. And it's this feeling of like, what I'm learning is saying, hey, that seed has value. And I think that it's a big thing for me, just to be able to say I have value, I guess. Or what? Yeah, that's huge. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I mean, it must be challenging to be one of 8 billion on the planet and trying to find meaning and purpose in all of that. And, but it also sounds like you recognize that community is essential for that growth.
Absolutely.
Sharing and the grace and the empathy, being able to receive as well as give love is critical for human development. Yeah, growth.
Absolutely, and that it takes practice. Like, getting back to your first question of like what have I learned is my own barriers to going through the process of creating all that, like community. I think in some ways through my work that it looks as though that I'm practicing that, but on a personal level, am I in alignment with those values when it comes to just myself outside of being a writer or producer or actor, It's like Linda. So that's very, yeah, that's kind of scary, like being vulnerable that way. But I think in terms of this, to connect it with this project, it's like, yeah, I'm learning about practicing these things for myself, and like I guess walking the talk, you know, and that there are barriers. Sometimes we don't know what we're. It's like you don't know what you're not doing because you're not even aware that's a thing. Like being in a healthy relationship. If you don't know what a healthy relationship is like, what does it look like to create that? If you don't know what that's like, you know. So I think a part of that process in terms of community building is I've been learning because it's happening as this is being produced. Yeah, I feel like what you're describing is like the process part, right? It's like we have this idea of where we want to be. This is where I am right now. And I think that especially when it comes to media, we only see as an audience the end result. So exactly that. It's in the margins of like the pockets or the kind of the in between. That's not always highlighted.
Yeah, it's kind of like the analogy of they're an overnight success, and they've been singing music for 30 years, right?
Yeah,
and all
exactly.
Of a sudden they just catapult.
Yeah, out of nowhere. Out of
Out of
nowhere.
nowhere, like, or the myth of the self-made person, realizing that nobody does anything by themselves. It's impossible. Because
I
as
totally
babies, would not survive without that community
Yeah.
that we have.
Yeah, all kinds of levels. What you're learning, who you meet, what someone else has contributed to your path. What do you let go of too? Like carving something out of stone or clay or something. Yeah. It's so funny that I love that you're asking this question. I took this opportunity to learn things on my own, and I am learning them. It's gone slower because I'm learning while doing. And there is value in that, but I realized how much was missing, and it was people to help me to do what they do well. And so I don't want to discount what I've been doing. I guess I had to do it to realize what I'm gonna learn. Like, would I do it again? Yes. I would do it differently. Oh, here's the gold. I would do it differently, and I would invite more crew. But now through this, I have a better understanding of all the other technical things. So even though someone else is doing that role, I have a better understanding what it means. And I think that is really valuable. Yeah, I would do it again, obviously with like, I will say, I think because of the pandemic and how things get canceled and then things come back, and I feel like we're all feeling that. It's like this flood of projects coming in, and everyone's like, hey, we got this going, and then, we want to collaborate, so people are inviting you to do different things, and I'm inviting people to do things with me, and then, you hit exhaustion, and it's like, that also has challenged my capacity to be fully engaged at a level that is like healthy for the project, because it's like things get disseminated out in different directions, and that's not healthy if you're out of balance. Yeah.
Well, I'm just gonna say, from a personal note, that you are loved by the community, and we cherish you, and we we thank you for what you do and your efforts. And the next time you need anything, definitely reach out because yeah,
Thank
everybody's
you.
around.
Thank
Get
you.
it done.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I ran into some friends downstairs opening up this new restaurant, and I was just sharing how like this community is like so strong. I feel the vibes, and thank you. Thanks for your support. It it's yeah, it means a lot, and it's practice for me to be still and receive that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a gift to be able to receive a gift.
Yes. Yes.
And it's difficult.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. You're getting. I'm gonna cry now, which is not bad.